Thank you everybody for coming. My name is Zohar. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Wibbitz. For whoever is not familiar, we're a video creation platform. We help professional storytellers tell their stories through video using very quick and intuitive tools. And this is our first Storyteller Circle, first in the series. We're going to be hosting many more of these, and the goal is really to get storytellers together, professional storytellers from different fields, whether it's media, publishing, marketing, and just creative people in general, and to talk about the challenges that go into telling stories in today's world. A multitude of different platforms that you need to tell your content to really reach users in an effective way. And specifically, what are some of the industry leaders doing to make these processes more efficient and to really help tell stories in a way that resonates with your viewers and your users, and to do it in a way that's really scalable for today's fast-paced world. So we have some great panelists here today. We're going to do a quick round of introductions, so you guys are all familiar with everybody, and then we can dive into some questions.
Hi everyone, I'm Kima. I'm the social content director at Birchbox. I was secretly hoping that I would not be the first to do an intro because I'm like, what do you include in an intro? But I've been with Birchbox for the past year, looking after the social and content team. We do all our creative in-house, so this is a great conversation. I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot from my co-panelists as well today. And prior to being here in the US, I was in the UK looking after social at a brand called Marks & Spencer. I've spent my time just in the media marketing world, e-commerce, media, BBC, Net-a-Porter, ASOS, so I've been around. Okay.
All right. Ken Gibbs, VP of Digital Video and Social Media Marketing at BET. Basically handle all of the digital original video out of the network, as well as our shoulder content that supports linear, along with the real-time social that we create to traffic across everything from Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and beyond.
Hi, I'm Colleen Schmidt. I am the supervising producer for People Video. I've been with the company for 5 years. Before that, I worked at Fox News for 6 years in the promotions department, making video there, and also creating digital video for foxnews.com.
I'm Kevin O'Connell. I'm the director of video production here at Wibbitz. I'm the head of our editorial team. We create videos for our customers, which are on the Top Stories tab. If we have any customers here, you might use us. We also do editorial service programs where we're creating videos for specific customers. We also have editorial teams in Tel Aviv creating videos in different languages. Before Wibbitz, I worked with Colleen at People. I worked at Time Inc. on some of the different brands, and then I was with People for about 3 years doing digital video.
All right, thank you. So to kick off the conversation, I think it would be interesting to understand, just in general, when it comes to content, what kind of content do you find that resonates the most with your users, and what role does this video play in today's kind of more visual world?
Well, I have the mic, so I'll start. So creation for us at Wibbitz is a little bit different because on one hand, we're trying to create videos that are going to inspire engagement from the viewers wherever they will be published in the end. But on the other hand, we're also tailoring our content to our customers specifically. But part of that is sort of letting them and helping our customers to understand why the videos look a certain way and why the format of that video is going to help them in the long run. The type of videos that I think work the best, I think are the type of videos that everybody likes to watch. So it's like a lot of user-generated content. it's something that maybe it's first person or it's Facebook Live, and it brings you, it'll transform your scene, and it brings you to a location. So instead of something that's really highly produced that might tell a great story, at least for me personally, the types of videos that I like to watch are that sort of user generated, and it brings you and transports you to a location, so you're there on the scene.
For people specifically, it really depends on the platform, what type of stories resonate with our audience. So our Instagram audience, for example, they love babies, they love pets, they love any feel-good moments, they love seeing celebrities in their home, they can relate to those celebrities. Our Facebook audience loves human interest content. They love content that pulls at their heartstrings. It's a little bit different. Our YouTube audience, they want to lean back and they want to watch longer form content that they can comment on and they can engage with. Our Twitter audience, it's all about engagement. It's about being live and engaging the audience with polls and keeping the conversation going there. So each platform is different, and we program content different for each platform. One thing I think that's very important, and I can't take credit for this, but whenever you're producing any type of video content, you should ask yourself, would I share this with my friend? And if you wouldn't, then you shouldn't be doing that video. You should be making things that are shareable, that you'd want to spread everywhere and catch fire, whether it's longer form, more beautifully produced content, or it's short form, quick feel-good moment, whatever it may be, you should be asking that question.
For BET, I'd say much of that is the same for us. The primary platforms for us with Wibbitz are Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, yes, human interest, right? We've got a strategy that's really about a social first celebration of just Black excellence. So if it's positive, like a young child, someone graduating, things like that work well there. They also, I was like, excuse me? But also listicles, right? And I think in the last few years, a lot of people saw that in the .com space working well. We've really just taken that and translated it to a video, just a video format, and it works well and the audience responds.
Okay, so Birchbox is slightly different in that we are a beauty company. So for the most part, what we find working well is content that's transformational. So if you are from a beauty, if you're looking at beauty tutorials and things like that, it's that they want to see that this product did this thing. You did this with the product, it looked easy and achievable, and the result was actually amazing. The other thing that we tend to find doing well are things that are buzzier and interesting formats or new products done different ways. So we all talked about Glam Glow as a brand and how that's done really well on Instagram, and how it's as a brand one of the most popular on Instagram right now, and it's because of what they've done with their product and made it so interesting and engaging and different for the platform. So they've reworked a very, very normal and sound concept. So that's the type of content that works for us. In terms of placements and things like that, I find Instagram stories is really where it's at right now. Like the engagement there that we're seeing is kind of insane when it comes to paid campaigns. So obviously working in very short formats, very low lift production-wise. And yeah, that's the gist of it.
So there was a lot of talk here about different platforms. And I think video is a very kind of broad word. And not all video is made the same, and you really need to tailor your message and your format to the specific platform that you're publishing that content for. So I was wondering, first of all, how it's structured within your organizations. Is it the same teams creating the videos, or do you have a specific dedicated team that's more for kind of long form, documentary, high-end type of productions, and a different team that's for short form, kind of more snackable content? And is there a different approach when it comes to owned and operated properties as opposed to social media platforms?
Okay, sure.
You look like you have an answer already.
Yes, definitely. Just like describe my day-to-day. So the first part of that, from an organizational standpoint, we're obviously a TV network, so we've got a different hierarchy of people with video skills within the building. Those people who are most closely aligned with our native platform, they are working on our long-form documentaries, all of our long-form programming, which you'll see primarily on YouTube. And then we've kind of adopted a windowed publishing strategy, like it might start there, then we'll roll it to Facebook, and maybe Twitter if we see value with it there. Then beneath that, we've got our interactive producers. They primarily are working on content for the O&O, right, on BET.com, what have you. What we've got them also doing, because they're the closest to the network and the network IP, they've got the best understanding of how to leverage the archives, right? So we've got all this years of 106 Park, Rap City, what have you, that for various reasons, maybe we can't surface as is, right? The licenses might be out of date on the music in that clip, and we might not see the ROI in looking to renew those licenses. What we do with a Wibbitz is we give you the visual and we can tell that story, still taking advantage of the IP without having to, go and pay, basically. The social producers also do a combination of both, though, right? They're able to, because they're in constant dialogue with the audience who's watching our shows, whether it be scripted or tentpoles, taking in or ingesting, rather, that social commentary or expression across the different platforms and crafting a story in response to what just aired, what we just showed on our air across the platforms. So that's really how we break it out.
The way we're broken out, it's a little bit similar. We do have a team that focuses on short form, snackable, social first video content. They are quick. They can churn out content very fast, but they also do some social features, things that have a longer shelf life that we're reusing and reusing. We have a OTT network called People TV, and that team is producing the lean back, longer form content. We have a team that's specifically handling live production as well for our live production shows. We have two teams actually because we have 2 live shows, and then we have an original content team that's making some of the more premium short form content as well. Depending on the franchise, the series, what we're trying to accomplish, so we are starting to cater more franchises just for one platform specifically, and I think things have changed in the past year to move more in that direction.
Well, my experiences are really similar to Colleen's in this way. When I was at Time Inc., I was part of the news team. So we were tailoring video mostly for articles and then for social feeds. And then of course there's the live programming and there's OTT, and sort of within each team that's making the video differently, they're also making it for multiple platforms within each team that's making it like for their own platform, if that makes sense. So even within news, we're doing Facebook cut and we're doing an Instagram cut and we're doing a site cut. So really just tailoring each of the video productions for each platform that it's going to.
Okay, so again, Birchbox is slightly different. Hard one out. So we are a very lean team. So we have a video producer, editor in-house. We have a director of photography. We have a brand stylist. And then we have an editor in the social content team, currently myself, but an editor in the team, who works on concepting the video. So we have the inception, we write the copy for it, we script it, we storyboard, we shoot in our studio, which is at the office, and then the editor does the work on the back end. What we try to do with our videos, though, is think about what are the various iterations or uses we might want to make out of this one shoot, right? So it doesn't make sense to go in once and make the tutorial video and then go back again to do the story, or think about how we would cut it for a shop campaign, which is much more directly requesting that the viewer just clicks through to shop or swipes up to shop. So in the storyboarding and really thinking about our shot list, we're really very intentional about what iterations we might want. So how we frame the video to make it safe for 16:9 and 4:5 in the same breath, or what extra shots we want to get to just make that shorter 10-second clip work better. That's us.
And what platform do you guys, we have some very different companies here, Broadcaster First, magazine / publisher and more beauty brand, and I was wondering what platform do you feel generates the biggest impact for you guys, and what are the tools that you use to expand and extend that reach of that content to as many viewers as you can?
Does anyone have an answer already?
I got it.
Yeah. You go.
So I mean, I think off the top for us is Facebook, right? But for a lot of the obvious reasons, right? You know, I think you're going to get the most views the quickest on Facebook, but you're also probably going to have the shortest average watch time there. So I mean, that's going to impact one very visible metric for us. That's great. We've seen a lot of engagement around that. So I don't know if people are reading the headline, maybe watching the first few seconds and jumping in the conversation, right? But that's kind of dictated by that platform. The other platform that we see a lot of value in, though, is really different, is YouTube, right? Because there are, I mean, the monetization methods within YouTube are the closest to our traditional business. So it kind of behooves us to grow our audience the quickest there as well.
I was going to say YouTube as well for the exact same reason. But I'll also say we're leaning really heavily into Twitter. We launched a live show a few weeks ago where we are engaging with our audience, and engagement is really big for us as a brand, and it's something we're really paying attention to, and I think everyone's paying attention to now. So I feel like there's a lot of growth and future with Twitter.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of publishers looking to monetize their content. So there are a lot of large brands with a lot of followers on Facebook. Facebook made a big push to monetize or allow publishers to monetize. YouTube obviously has a much more established monetization. But since Facebook, maybe there's less confidence in monetization on Facebook as of late. Twitter definitely is stepping up into the void to try and capitalize. Yeah, I think you guys covered it. It's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, probably safest. Twitter up and coming. Instagram, maybe. Instagram could be soon. I mean, there are still, similar to Facebook, there are a lot of people on Instagram and a lot of views to be had on Instagram. It's just a matter of finding the monetization at this point.
Yeah, I mean, because they are, owned by Facebook, I think you can expect much of the monetization opportunities within that platform to fast follow. I know we are seeing our audience actually transition to Instagram. The conversation in the moment happens strongest on Twitter, but we've noticed, because we've seen attrition year over year on Twitter, right? And we've begun to look into where are these people going, right? We're not seeing anything grow over here. We've discovered that a lot of it is going into Instagram. But the difference in Instagram is that even sometimes there can be a fiery discussion happening in the comment area of one post, which is really hard to track. So that's been an issue for us.
So I talked about Instagram stories earlier and thinking about the opportunity there. Now the volume isn't, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the volume is on the same level as Facebook or YouTube, but from at least a CPA perspective, we're seeing that Instagram stories is $10 compared to YouTube, which is something we've just recently switched back on, but that's coming in at 28 by comparison. So we're having crazy wild discussions maybe we should just do Instagram stories for a month and see what happens. And it's which when you're a smaller team you can lean into conversations like that. But yeah, I think that's a big sign. It's for me one to watch, and actually I'm seeing my own network, my own friends posting oh my gosh, I forgot to post anything on my Instagram feed in ages because it's taking over that direction. So that's just an interesting observation.
So a lot of you have mentioned Instagram and Instagram stories. What about Snapchat? Is that going away, do you think?
No, it's not. I mean, hey, we follow the audience, right?
Yeah.
And the audience is there. But as a smaller shop within the bigger Viacom umbrella, we've got to be cognizant of ROI, right? And a company that can't tell me how many people are following my account, really, they aren't justifying my spend in the time that I make there. But advertisers, like if they come looking for it, we've got to have a presence there. We need platforms to really accommodate the needs of all the talent that we're servicing just around the clock. So we've always got a presence there. And annually, we always do a Snapchat live story Saturday when the BET Experience opens, Sunday at the BET Awards. And we get ROI metrics from that. But beyond that, I actually just haven't been given enough information to, dedicate a team towards it like I have other platforms.
I mean, for us, it's just like, it's a question about the number of hands we have on deck to be able to dabble with, and it just isn't a priority platform in that sense for us, and we haven't done that much, so I can't really comment.
I think.
You guys want to say anything? I'm sure you have.
I think in a way the reaction to the question sort of answered it.
Yeah.
We're like, I mean, like we all sort of know, like people are moving from Facebook to Instagram, they're moving from Snapchat to Instagram. So, like you said, the publishers and are following the audiences. So if more people are on the app, it's going to be more opportunity to get your content seen there.
Yeah, I guess it really depends. I can just like speak loudly.
Yeah.
I guess it really depends on who your audience is.
Yeah.
So I very rarely, anytime I'm in contact with anyone who's between the ages of like 16 and 19, I'm like, what's your favorite social media platform? Every single time, Snapchat.
Yeah.
So that's who you're talking to.
And do you think that Instagram stories and Snapchat are equal to video, or is it something completely different? Is it the same people creating that content? Because I kind of see different strategies in different companies. Sometimes it's just, non-video producers just going out to the field and shooting stories on their phones. And in other companies, they have, highly produced, kind of packaged, vertical video content that goes up there. So how do you feel about it?
I think it gives you the license to, if depending on what your brand aesthetic is or what you're trying to achieve, it does give you the license to either be heavily produced, have the content be heavily produced, or literally hand the reins over to somebody else and be like, hey, can we do an unboxing video, Instagram stories for us? And I love it for that because it really can, it helps you maintain the presence and get all that lovely traction, but doesn't make you beholden to a crazy production budget. So it really depends on the brand. I've seen some great packaged.
Yeah. I was to say, I think it's both. We do both at People. There's something special about Instagram stories feeling like this behind the scenes sort of raw feeling of like, I am really there with you right now and seeing that. But during a big event or when there's a great visual that fits into stories, I think it's great to highlight there. I don't think there's a solid answer on what it should look like, but I think it's a mix of all.
Yeah, I think there's definitely room for both. One thing that I've noticed, at least on the advertising side, like when you get an ad on Instagram or an ad on Snapchat, for me personally, if I'm looking through my friends' videos and something comes into my feed that is produced, it's gone. The only thing that's going to get me to stop and to look and like see, like, do I know this person? What is this? Is something that sort of looks like it might have come from one of my friends, or it might be, something that is user generated. So, I mean, I could see just from my own experience that on the advertising side, much more, leaning much more on that user generated, sort of that raw look to recapture what, someone else, the people that you're following, what they're creating.
So I think it's fair to say that video is an important part of all of your strategies. So what would you say are the main challenges and hurdles when it comes to producing video or creating content for a visual first world? The resources, money, know-how.
Sure. I mean, I think video in general is not the quickest medium. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of resources to make a video, whether it's a quick short form video or just text on the screen. Rendering a video takes a lot of time. Not everyone understands that. Actually, really making a great piece of content, the color correction, the audio work that goes into it, there's a lot of challenges. Really telling a story, beginning, middle, and end, and like crafting that properly, it takes a lot of time. And once you hone in on that craft, you can get quicker and faster at doing it. But it's not a fast medium. It's not the same as just writing an article or writing a caption. It takes time, and it takes work, and it takes practice. I think one of the other biggest challenges is just keeping up with the social platform. The landscape is constantly changing. Every day, the Facebook algorithm changes again, and what we thought we should be doing, we have to pivot and do something else. You have to be constantly adapting. You have to be thinking about what's next and really thinking ahead. And I think that's a big challenge. It's also a fun challenge.
Indeed. No, I mean, we're like in the same office, I feel.
Yeah.
It's really that, right? It's budget and bandwidth primarily, I think. Do you have the money to, hire 20 editors? And 20 editors would still probably not be enough, right? Just when you think about the time that it takes to work on one piece and what have you. But then overall, the skill set too, right? Even if you do have 20 editors, I'm pretty sure you got 3 rock stars, right? The benefit of a tool like Wibbitz is that it allows, you to have 18 rock stars, right? And only...
We're going to use that in our marketing.
I mean, it is, because one of the things that we've discovered internally is that the writers who are the best trained at telling the stories are actually the best with Wibbitz.
So I would agree with all those thoughts. The only thing I would add is that sometimes it's about training your eye training yourself to spot the opportunity. So sometimes on set, I'm literally saying, we could do that with that, and we could do this with that. But if people aren't also doing that, it can make it a little difficult. I have to bring it in. Really think about, okay, this throws off what we're trying to do, the main objective of the day. So I think it's just maybe as a team, the types of things we've done is like any opportunity we get to do talks, any opportunities we get to, if we get any airtime with Facebook or the Instagram team or the creative shop, we will be there to and send different people from the team as well, just to keep us entrenched in that world, to help us be able to spot those quick and easy opportunities on set when we can. Because the only thing we haven't really talked about is that video is just moving assets, and we've talked about it from the point of view of being a very big production, but there's also merit in just making things move, and it doesn't have to be
You're saying it doesn't have to be a huge production or creative angle. It's just about telling the story in a way that people are used to getting that information.
It creates emotion that's eye-catching.
Yeah.
So how you convert a still into a video is...
That's interesting. That's an interesting point. Because I think many people get intimidated when it comes to video, and they instantly think, there's a lot of talk about the pivot to video in the publishing industry specifically, and I think many companies failed with that because they just got it wrong, and it wasn't, like you're saying, just get some stuff moving on the screen because it grabs people's attention, but it was about creating studios and getting on-air talent. So interesting to hear what you guys feel about that.
The most impactful video is always the cheapest.
The cheapest.
Yeah, that's what we've discovered. Literally, you spend $1 million, you're not guaranteed to get 1 million views.
Yeah.
You spend almost nothing, it'll probably get you 1 million views. It just seems to work that way. Production price does not guarantee success.
And have you guys felt, being at the mercy of these platforms, especially Facebook, with all the changes that are happening there? Is it something that you feel on a day-to-day, and are you changing your strategy? Or are you trying to bring more users to your platforms, and if so, how?
Well, we never stop trying to bring people to our platforms because that's where the pre-roll is, right? That's where the display advertising is. That's where we're making the dollars first and foremost, unless it's branded content. But what the algorithm changes do cause are, disruptions in internal processes that in many instances it took a long time to set up, right? So if you've got a shop that is kind of prepared to produce 3 to 5 minute videos, but now the algorithm wants 90 seconds or less. It's like, all right, let's just, how long is it going to take us to do an about face?
So seconding that, but yeah, length has been something that we've had to play with a lot with Facebook. Facebook Watch wants longer kind of form content. We have show pages with Facebook, which are great, which are an aggregator for a lot of our 3 to 4 minute content as well, and then sort of our news like snackable videos. For a while, everything needed to be 90 seconds. Now it doesn't need to be 90 seconds, so it's just pivoting your workflow to adapt to it. But you have to be nimble and you have to be able to pivot, and that's what we're here to do.
So totally agree with everything in terms of gearing your content to capitalize on the algorithm. There's definitely, I've been a part of like some algorithm hacking where you're creating content to take advantage of this algorithm, and it's not necessarily good content to watch, but just really sort of trying to game the system a little bit to capitalize on these things. But it sort of goes a little bit further than just like the length of the video, into like how the video itself looks and how it's shot. And when I first started at Time Inc., we were doing all of the video that I was making was posted stand up. We had a camera in the corner of the newsroom and we're shooting, and it's someone on camera and they're hosting, and then there's voiceover throughout. And then a year later we were doing no hosted, and it was all this unhosted caption video, no voiceover, just a music track and text on screen. And I think we're seeing more of the hosted stuff actually coming back now. There's more voiceover. We saw, you mentioned listicles. Listicles have come through, big different format changes. So it's structuring your content in a way that capitalizes on the algorithm, but it's also, just the larger trends of the industry of what the viewers are clicking on, what they want to see, and the viewer expectation of what the video is going to look like.
I'll add one more thing to that. One thing that years ago we used to do a lot of is graphics at the top, but you will not see that anywhere anymore. Social video has changed. You need to get your first 3 to 5 seconds, or the most important seconds of your video, you need to hook people in and keep them going. So you have to really think about how you're going to do that on social, because I'm just going to keep scrolling by and not watch this if I'm not engaged.
One thing I think is very interesting is how much, outside of things like algorithm changes and limited reach and all of that stuff, the thing that's interesting is how it kind of plays back the new best practices, how they kind of reflect back how people are actually using and consuming content on the platform. So I think for me that's an interesting observation from a human standpoint. Is like, oh, I don't have my headphones, I'm not going to listen to this on the bus, so captions make more sense, and that kind of stuff I find just generally fascinating as a learning for all of us.
And what are your measures for success when it comes to video? Is it money, engagement, reach, traffic? Is it different on every platform?
Yeah, it changes. It really depends on what the video is trying to sell. Like, if it's much more brand gear, then yes, we want views. We want you to just watch this video. If we are pitching a gift with subscription, then yeah, we want you to go through or swipe up and buy or subscribe. So it varies. We set it based on that, or track it based on that.
For one side of the house, it's engagement, and that's generally for linear support. If I'm trying to drive you to Tuesday at 10, I need to see that you're talking about it, that you're interested, that you're sharing. For the other content, it's the views, right? The views and the watch time. We know some of these platforms can be very easily gamed, so if I'm seeing, 8 and 10 seconds, you didn't really watch that. Somebody might have said something to you while you were scrolling. But if you're making it all the way into, a 15 or 20 minute piece of original content, like that means that as content creators, like we succeeded.
So I'm looking at several different metrics. Views will always be views and they will always be important. But really, engagement is very important on several platforms. VCR, video completion rate, is so important for us. It's something we really, really look at. I'm also looking at bounce rate and seeing how many people are actually going to go to the next video and not bounce off and keep watching. A lot of our videos are continuous play, so I just want to see who's continuing to engage with our video content and continuing to engage with our content as well. But I don't think there is one set most important sort of key performance indicator. I feel like it really depends on the platform and what you're trying to accomplish year over year.
So it's a little different for our in-house editorial team at Wibbitz because we're not actually publishing the content. We do follow the content after it's gone out to sort of track and make sure that it's succeeding on our customers' platforms. But in-house, the biggest thing that we're looking for is rebrands. We want to make sure that we're creating the content that is either the most newsworthy, what's being talked about that day, or specifically tailored like for some customers that we know that are always going to take our music content. So we're going to create a lot of music videos for our customers. That's the biggest one, is like just making sure that we're meeting our customers' expectation, that we're creating content that they're going to want. And then everything you guys said on the back end in terms of views and engagement. I do think all of the engagement and everything is good. For me as a video producer, views were always the most important to me. If someone is sharing it and liking it, or talking about it, or hitting the heart button, or whatever it is on Facebook, that's going to generate more views. If you're sharing it to your friend and they share it to 2 other friends, that all comes back to views. So everything was like really important as a producer, but I think that was sort of my biggest goal as a producer, was just getting eyeballs on it and sort of knowing that when you're doing the other things right, that it's going to translate to more views in the end as well.
So I've talked to a few people here in the audience that are just getting started with video, and they're just dipping their toe into the video pool. What it's cold. What advice would you give to a company or a storyteller that's just getting started with video, and how do you ramp that up in an efficient way that makes sense?
I think the most important thing for someone who's just starting, maybe hasn't made video ever, is creating a video on something that you want to watch. When I'm personally maybe experimenting with a different type of video, or I'm doing a stop motion, or just sitting down to be creative and try something new, I'm creating something that I'm interested and I want to watch, and maybe to start isn't the most tailored to an audience, but that's how I'm going to work on it, and I'm going to get better at it, and sort of understand my own process on how to create and sort of express these ideas in the video.
My advice would be, whether you're starting out in video at a company or you're going solo on your own and starting out, is when anyone offers you a chance to learn a new hard skill that's related to video, never say no. It's something that I learned very, very young. Someone said to me, "Hey, can I just show you how to use Final Cut?" And I said, "Sure." And then in 2 years, I'm editing. So I didn't think I ever would be, but I was. And to me, that's a very important lesson. When we were interviewing people, I really look for people that have those hard skills and also like love our content or engaging with our content. But to me, learning those skills and never saying no to learning something new. There's also skills that are maybe not actually video, like Photoshop, that you may not think you need as a video producer, but I think is a great skill to learn, because actually you probably will need it. So again, if someone offers you the chance to learn a new skill, take it and go with it.
I have to put the operational brain on at this point, and say the best piece of advice would be to identify the source material, right? Like how deep is that inventory, and what type of publishing cadence will you be able to create as a result? Because not only does that matter to your advertisers who you want to set up a business with and what have you, but are you going to be able to consistently offer this to your audience, which is also going to play into the success of that video.
Cool. I would say if you are starting from scratch and you don't really have the setup in place, there's a lot you can do with just your phone. So you can edit videos, you can make graphics, you can add sound, you can shoot the videos on your phone. Like there's so many things you can do. I was playing with InShot, I think it's called InShot, the other day, and I genuinely it creates the same layered file as you would see in a working video project file, but it honestly, in 20 minutes, I was like, I think I'm really good at this. Like there's a lot you can do with very, very little. And if you're anything like me, like if you need models, if you need people to feature, don't underestimate what people would be willing to do. If you find someone, if you see someone, I chase people down the street. I met people at pizza places. I met someone in the bathroom yesterday. I was like, can you just send me modeling? Here's my card. If you're interested, just email me. It's fine. And I got a message on Instagram. She found me on Instagram and messaged me back. Like people will be really interested and willing to do that for you too. So you don't have to pay extortionate fees for models.
Good tips there. So one more question before we open it to some Q&A from the audience. So what do you think, or what do you envision as the next phase or the future of video storytelling? Is it live video, 360 video? What should we prepare for?
It's not 360, is it?
I would say we talked a lot about YouTube, and I think you're going to see YouTube become even more of a lean back experience like your Netflix in the next couple of years. So I think you should really be shifting your focus there. It's very, very important. I could be wrong, but that's what I predict will happen. And I also think things will go the opposite way. I think on OTT, you may see more short form, snackable content that's more playlisted and continuous. So that's one thing that I see happening.
I think, Kima, you mentioned a little bit of it before with talking about phones. Mm-hmm. So I think the barrier to entry to create video at this point has never been, it's never been this easy to create your own video that looks amazing. Last week, we created a video on the Wibbitz platform that I shot with an iPhone on top of a laptop stand, on top of 2 boxes of tissues, on top of
I saw that video and I was like, whoa, where do you get all this equipment?
Shot an iPhone 6. And we were able to just take an iPhone, shoot a quick intro, do a voiceover with a mic, normal headphone mic, and created a great video. I think that for people who are just starting, or anybody, even big publishers can send somebody out into the field with an iPhone. They don't have to send a camera person and a sound guy. And so I think in terms of what's next and what's the future, I think it's more of that. It's opening the door to people who wouldn't necessarily be able to create. Wibbitz does some of that with our automation and allowing people who maybe don't know how to edit on Premiere or Final Cut. So I would see more of that, more getting video capabilities into the hands of people who otherwise wouldn't be able to, and the content reflecting that as well.
So I think right now you're looking at a lot of user-generated video. I think really the next phase will be really explicitly user-supported video. When you've got really platforms like Facebook looking to get into the space, Facebook, due to the connectivity amongst its users, it's like, I might be somebody else completely on YouTube and become a YouTube star, but on Facebook, like, my mother knows who I am and what I'm doing and what have you, what you see there. But I think due to that connectivity, you got the opportunity to really see like GoFundMe style campaigns around shows. And I think you've already seen that a little bit in linear in some of the offline petitions that have brought and canceled shows back or convinced other networks to bring them to their network. I think you could see a future where, you know, that audience can say, hey, we don't want it to go away. How much does it cost? All right, we'll all chip in. Boom. Now we're watching it on Facebook together in a watch party. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that stuff start to happen.
So I can't say that I have too much more to add to what you guys have said. I would agree 1,000% with all of those points. I think they're ring true in a lot of ways. And so, yeah.
That's great points. So we're going to open the panel to Q&A, and I have some questions. Yes.
I have a question for everyone on the panel. I'm a professional author and written 5 books on marketing and branding, and I didn't hear any conversation about storytelling. I heard production, and I heard platforms. And Ken was the only person in this last 45 minutes that used the word writer. What I'd be interested in is hearing each person's take on what is good storytelling. Take your time.
That's a good question.
Who wants to take that one first?
I feel like we, in a way, have touched on it a little bit by talking about content that people are interested in watching, like making content that people actually want to spend their time with.
Pornography?
If that's what, if that's what brings your bell, sure. Actually, there's a very interesting podcast about that we talked about. So I think we've talked about, like, for example, Colleen talked about on Instagram people wanting to watch animal content or, you know, puppies or babies. I think that ultimately it's really up to, like, it's up to the brand and what you're trying to create. But essentially, if your audience is interested in this type of content, then it's worth making it. And if you can make that content that they want to watch and see them actually respond to that, that's good. I don't think that's not good storytelling. So it really depends on that. So if you, for example, think that a human interest piece like the royal wedding is what people want to watch, telling a story about Meghan's background. For Birchbox, we had done previous interviews with Meghan Markle about her beauty favorites. So we saw this as an opportunity to surface some content around what her favorites were, and we talked about what she was like, what products she liked, why she liked them, and how they work, and where you could get them. And that for us was content that got really good traction. I think it's on now. The post we did on Meghan Markle it's now the second most liked post we've ever done. So that's my short answer to that. Long and short answer.
So I think obviously it's way more than a beginning, middle, and end.
Mm-hmm.
What makes good storytelling? I would say, you know, for video, you don't need writing in text necessarily. It's about visuals with text, or conversation, or questions. There's so many different types of video that it really depends on, you know, what makes good storytelling based on that actual product. But something, you know, again, like I said before, I think content that's shareable, content that's engaging is really great. I think that, you know, there's many different ways to tell a story with video, and you don't need a piece of text, you might just need music the entire time, and that's it. There's different ways to tell your story, and I think if you'll share it, if people engage with it, that makes great content.
Yeah, I think we haven't maybe mentioned storytelling directly, but I mean, you mentioned before, we were talking before, the video, The best video sometimes is when the video itself is the story.
Is the story,
Right.
yeah.
So we were talking about a video where a young girl, her mom is telling her that she can't go to the royal wedding because she's not invited. And the girl is crying and she said, "You said I could go, you said I could go." And the mom says, "I said you could go if you were invited, but I'm sorry, you haven't been invited to the royal wedding, you can't go." So in a case like that, the story that you're telling as a publisher is the story that I just told. You're telling about the little girl and the mom, and she's crying and she wants to go, and it's so cute. And you're allowing the viewer to have this sort of connection with the girl, and she's so cute, and you're having an emotional reaction to viewing it. So the story in this case was best told by adding a caption and letting the girl talk and showing the mom. So in terms of how we strategize, it's sort of identifying the ways that this video is best set up. If that video maybe wasn't as good, maybe it needed subtitles and you would tell the story in a different way. But I think that for the most part, the video itself and the way that we're structuring it and the way that the content is utilized, that is the story. And as video producers and anyone who's making a story, that would qualify you as a storyteller just by creating the video itself.
As it relates to just traditional stories, I would say the short form content you're seeing today is best for news stories, right? In that reporting structure, like this happened, then this, and this is the fallout. When you get into the long form stories, I think you're getting back into the traditional medium. Like it would be a normal TV program.
I can add one thing. I think too it's important to think about when you're storytelling, how are you going to make this different and how are you going to stand out on a very big news day, for example, that something happens. How are you going to be different than the crowd that's also trying to tell the same story? Are you going to are you going to try to book someone on your show that can give a different perspective? And that's going to be your video, or are you going to do more of a mashup kind of content, taking a different angle? You really got to look at what can I do here before you're even writing and scripting out your piece of content and planning out what it's going to be. How am I going to stand out in the crowd, especially when we're talking about news content?
Something someone just, I think it was Colleen, you saying about traditional story arcs of like a beginning, a middle, and an end. One thing that, an interesting conversation I have had in the past with one of my contacts at Facebook was about like how video consumption now it has disrupted the traditional story arc. So instead of like, oh, you start slow and you build and then you like, you know, you have your crescendo moment and then it ends. It's now, you have to start with a bang, really catch people's attention, and then how do you maintain it throughout with like peaks of interest? So if someone starts with jumping jacks, then you might have an introduction, and then cut back to jumping jacks, and whatever it is. So I think that's also an interesting way to look at it.
Just to add on that also, I think, you know, just in general, I think it's an amazing time to be a storyteller because there are so many different ways that you can reach your users, whether you're an author or a writer or a photographer. And I think there are so many, like you mentioned, so many different tools and apps that you can use today that kind of enrich your tool set and toolbox with so many different things that you can create that you didn't necessarily know how to do before, whether it's writing content, formatting it, publishing it, shooting video, editing video, creating music. And I just think it's important for storytellers to really get to know and be familiar and explore all these different and amazing tools that you can use today to get your story to the right people in the right format.
So now that more and more channels allow you to do vertical videos, YouTube lets you do that too, but I can see a lot of vertical videos we still don't edit directly for the full screen. How do you guys feel about start going to more the vertical or right now still horizontal with like maybe a quarter vertical?
For us in particular, it's really dependent on the piece of content, right? Something that we're most likely to send directly to YouTube is not going to be a vertical video. We've kept the vertical video for Facebook and Twitter primarily, so it's a mix of both that we let the story itself dictate.
Same answer for me. Really depends on the story and the platform as well.
She didn't need it.
Facebook has created this great little phrase called placement optimization, which is like really fun, where you can place your ads. You can run a campaign that optimizes for either serving it in Instagram stories, in the Instagram newsfeed, or in the Facebook newsfeed. And we've really, from a brand perspective, debated it, because depending on where it's being served, it might work great or it might look absolutely terrible. So the thing that we have been juggling, we've just been testing it as much as we can. That's the only thing I can say to you, is that we think about where is the happiest medium, where are the safe areas to keep. If we're going to have graphics on the video, where are we going to put the graphics, so that no matter what crop version you're looking at, you're going to see the best, it looking at least decent.
So you guys will be going to vertical video?
We're doing more vertical video. No, not on YouTube.
You say on
Oh, YouTube specifically. No, sorry,
Yeah.
I missed that bit of your question. Sorry.
Thank you guys for talking all this good stuff. When the question came up about challenges for producing video, I was curious to learn if any of you use Wibbitz to produce video, and how has that impacted your video production process, and how whether it informs the kind of stories that you choose to produce video on.
We definitely use Wibbitz as one of the many tools in our toolbox. It allows the people who aren't at that higher level of video skill within our organization still contribute to video. How it's changed, you said how it's changed our production process?
The kinds of stories you choose to produce video content on?
Social stories, for example. So we've got an entire team that is in dialogue with the audience about a show, about an incident, or what have you, right? So the best way to tell that story would be to pull in those social posts, right? Because that's really the only way to show someone who wasn't watching it really what happened there. We can't collect all those posts and bring them to our real video creation team that, sitting down in front of the average and all that. Thinking, I'm like, really? Like, you want me to work on this? Like, I'm working on TV quality stuff, right? And I said earlier, the cheapest video is always the most impactful. That TV quality one might be what's required by the sponsor, but we've been able to have great effect with just really stringing together that social conversation in a video format.
So one last question. So you said that the most impactful videos are often made. Not to say that
Just means that we're gonna hike up the prices.
Do you find that videos produced on Wibbitz outperform the videos that you're creating in-house?
In some instances, but it's a balance, right? I think one that was most successful for us recently was around a Drake video. The title escapes me, but he was running around giving out money checks to people. So it was
God's
like
plan.
God's plan. There you go. He didn't have me in it, but we saw the video out there. Everyone was talking about it. It was trending. A writer on our team quickly put together a Wibbitz video that's our star right there. Quickly put together the video, right, that would have normally traditionally just been an article, right, and it took off.
I'm not allowed to answer this one.
As Legacy Timing, a lot of our brands used Wibbitz. I think it's really great for smaller brands to use it to scale. Especially if you don't have a lot of resources. And I know a lot of them are having their writers use the tool to edit content similar to BET. But I think it's a great tool for anyone who is also just stepping into the video space that wants to create content, especially if you have a writing background, because you can use this to transform that storytelling into video.
We haven't used Wibbitz yet, sorry.
We just launched an offer for
Thanks a lot.
marketers, brands.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a quick question about right before you post. How much thought are you putting into video has, the caption, and then also the title. Maybe what are some suggestions that can help drive view counts?
Until actually very recently, we realized that we weren't paying that much attention to our thumbnails when we were on. So we're like, wait, we should probably just have a, and it doesn't take a lot, just have a quick think about what you want this thumbnail to say about this video, and make sure that you plan for it on whatever shoot you're on. The funniest, we did a sun damage video where we had a UV camera show what your sun damage was, and then use SPF so you could see the impact of SPF. And we cut down those video clips and did a cut of it that cut between your normal view and the UV view, and the normal view and UV view. But as we were editing, noticed that it just auto-selected a thumbnail which looked like, you know, someone with blackface, because UV, literally you put it on, it blocks everything, so it looks black under UV. You switch it back and it's just a clear, normal image. So for if you know how many people I walked around to today, it's like, man, what do you see? What do you see when you see this? When you see this thumbnail? But just, you know, thinking about like things like that is something that we're starting to do a lot more intentionally. Caption, copy, all of that is, of course, super important, and we think about how long they should be, how detailed they should be, or how short they should be to hook you in. We're trying not to be so clickbaity, because I actually think that's going to start, if it hasn't already, start working against you, because platforms are deliberately clamping down on that. But yeah, just it doesn't have to be a huge amount of thought, but it's like, what do we want to say about this video that's going to make you induce you to watch it? And then from a thumbnail perspective, yeah, just a quick couple of seconds to be like, what is this going to say about the video? And away you go.
We're in a crowded entertainment space, so we've got a bit of a different perspective, and I would definitely like speak with my team about it today, or via email. But I actually think the thumbnail is almost like the most important thing, because I don't see anyone reading today. You know, I could say, you know, click this and you will die, but if the thumbnail looks great, I'll bet it still has clicks. Great, and like literally.
You should test that.
I actually did, no. But no, like across different platforms, and also, you know, your thumbnail is how you're judged alongside, in some instances, competitors, or, you know, a pro or a Joe, right? So that's the number one and the first thing that's going to let someone make that decision as to if they're going to enter. And once they enter, you get your view already, right? So the thumbnail could be much better than the video itself.
I second all of that on the thumbnail, but I do think caption is very important, especially on Instagram. I think that you are talking to your audience very specifically there, so you have to be careful how you're crafting that caption, because that can really make or break you in that space. So, for example, we're very specific. Our Instagram audience, we want them to feel like a friend, like we're relating to them. So you will see that's how we are speaking. And there's a specific voice there that we have.
I think this is another one of the answers that's completely platform specific. One of the big things when I was at Time Inc. with people that we realized was that most of our audience was mobile, and most of our audience was not clicking on the video. On desktop and on social, you have things like autoplay, but with most of that audience being on mobile, you really need to inspire them to go out of their way to click and use their precious mobile data to watch whatever you're doing. So the thumbnail for us was tremendously important. One of my great wins at Time Inc. was raising the mobile play rate by 2%. Which, when you have millions and millions and millions of impressions, was, yeah. And we did that just through really, really bearing down and focusing on what thumbnails are performing for us. Obviously, like you said, never betraying what the content of the video is with the thumbnail, but at the same time trying to create something that looks interesting and might raise a question with the viewer of what the video is, and then backing it up with really good content.
Let's open up for one final question. The 2 questions.
Video trends are always changing, and I always think that people often find like reap good dividends when they're the experimenters and trying new things, and then people copy you. What have you tried that lately that you experimented with that worked for you?
Well, I think we're always experimenting with new video formats at Wibbitz. Within our own platform, we've done straight caption for a long time. We are trying more hosted video. We do voiceover content. In the end, in terms of what's successful, that sort of depends on the publisher who's taking that video and where they're doing it and where they're posting and where they're publishing it. But yeah, on our end, it's just sort of experimenting and playing around with the different formats, unhosted, unhosted. But again, since we're not a publisher, when it comes to the actual viewer engagement side, that's on our customers who are sending that out.
I'd say we talked a lot about Instagram stories, so we've been playing a lot in that space and seeing what works there content-wise and different types of formats of content. We also do a lot of testing on site, sort of in our optimization area, to see a lot of A/B testing. Would a user rather watch a directly related video to this article, or would they want to watch something that's related to it, or do they want to watch something totally different and be served something different? So there's a lot that we do there, trying new optimization strategies, and to me that's very, very important. Do we want to just tease a longer form video and then direct the audience to watch the longer form video on a different platform? So it's just kind of always trying to test out what works and what our goal is and coming up with a strategy there.
Yeah, all of that along with repurposing live, since all of the platforms are now allowing you to go live, we got a lot of talent just coming through the building we visit. So the team came up with one great execution called cyber slacking within Instagram, where like literally the talent is sitting there just going live with random people. And it sounds as crazy, it's as crazy as it sounds, like people in job interviews, they're in class, all types of crazy things. But then taking that, downloading it from Instagram and repurposing it across other platforms to see even more views, value, and engagement from it.
Yeah, so I would say, just touching on some of the stuff we talked about, like UGC, and thinking about how we kind of unlearn the, perfectly produced brand video type stuff and just letting go of the reins sometimes. So we've created a couple of franchises where we just tell people to film a trial of something over 2 weeks and like sunset, and from that you get lots of really, really nice moments that you can cut into your videos. So I'd say that's probably maybe the biggest thing. One other little thing, we try to like pay close attention to our video metrics, and you were talking about video completion rate earlier, but like, for example, we noticed that with one of our franchises, we would start with a short clip, then show you a title card, and then carry on with the video. And we found that people hit the title card and just dropped off. We were like, okay, let's just try taking that out, and just like letting go of the reins a little bit in that respect, and like play the content they're actually interested in looking at. So.
One final question.
Yeah, thank you. Nestle, I'm a YouTuber. It's kind of pretty similar question, but when we know that making a viral type, like this type of video is gonna get watched a lot, the sponsors are gonna like it, there are a lot of views, versus a very unique storytelling. It's not gonna be watched so much, but it's more meaningful and purposeful, I would say. So what do you think about it, and what would you suggest? More clicks, more views, it's more important, like many YouTubers do all same style, hundreds of channels similar, versus something unique.
Yeah, I think there has to be a balance, so it's probably not the answer you want, but both. Yeah. Definitely you have to, at the end of the day, you have to get your numbers, you have to get views, you have to get engagements, you have to be producing content that viewers are consuming. But then there's room for, the type of content that you really want to create, or it's long form and you want to win a Webby with. But I think it has to be both. You have to sort of balance out sort of the numbers and the money makers with the projects that you're more passionate about.
I think YouTube is such a big saturated space right now with that one type of content that you're talking about. If you can make some of the best, most beautifully produced content and stand out that way, you can get the audience. You just have to differentiate yourself from the pack.
Yeah, we always agree. Differentiation is key, right? But also, I mean, we're a brand, so we've got to do some of the meaningful things that we know aren't going to generate the views, you know. And if they're not going to generate the views, like I view YouTube and YouTubers as small business, I think you need to ask yourself if you can tolerate that, right? Like if it's not going to help the business, why are you doing it?
So I would 100% agree with what everyone has said so far. Like, it's a mix, it's a balance, and you have to, you know, one, make the content, and we've talked about making content that people are interested in and want to watch, but also from a brand perspective, like, what is the message you want to pitch to? What is it you want to say? Because you can't always be led by your audience. Like, you also have to, in some way, create influence people to engage with you in certain ways or whatever else. And whether you start small and it gradually builds over time, because, you know, franchising, I think, is actually really powerful. Like, coming to be known for something that you're doing, you've differentiated, you've created some differentiation in is a very powerful thing, and the audience will come over time if you're consistent with it.
So I think we're gonna stop it right here. I feel like we can continue talking on forever, but hopefully some of the guys here will continue to mingle around. So if you have some more questions, feel free. I want to thank you all for coming by. This was great, and I especially want to thank our amazing panelists. It's super interesting. So thank you for coming and sharing your ideas and insights with everyone here. And like I mentioned before, this is the first in the series of the Storyteller Circle that we're going to be hosting, and kind of providing different angles and views and ideas of not just video, but storytelling in general. So keep an eye out for that. And if any of you do want to dabble around with video, feel free to sign up for a trial. The Wibbitz platform, we have some sign-up forms over there, and you'll get a free trial, and enjoy the drink. So enjoy your night. Thank you very much for coming.